one of the core mission of Golden Report is to speak about the stories of transparent wealth creators or entrepreneurship, which can inspire more young individuals into entrepreneurs. And what we try and do through these series is to try and get some unique perspectives which can be shared as learnings through our platform. And if that can benefit a lot more future entrepreneurs in India, I mean, nothing like that. That's the whole idea. And today, I'm very happy to be speaking to Dr. Lalit Kanodia of Datamatics, and um, somebody who has seen the growth of India while building this business, somebody who I believe can give a lot of perspective on what's happened historically and what could happen later based on his unique experiences. It's my pleasure to have you here with me, sir. And and would love to have, as I mentioned earlier, I would love to keep this interview as candid as possible, and would love to hear from you the story. I've read it in a few places. I've spoken to your son who came to our event, where we felicitated Datamatics as one of the stars of Mumbai, who's made outstanding contribution to the Mumbai economy. But would love to hear from you, your story. How did you start? And just would love to hear from you first.
My father used to live in Calcutta. I was born in Calcutta, but the family migrated to Bombay when I was just 1 year old. And ever since then, we lived in this city. Unfortunately, I lost my father in an air crash in 1951 when I was just a little over 10 years old. But a lot of what I am is the genes that I've been inheriting from him. He used to love animals, for example. He had 3 horses, polo, he used to play polo. He loved dogs, he loved nature. And he was a genius when it came to mathematics. You know, in those days, there was a rupees, annas, and pies, not paise, pies. With 12 pies made an anna, and 16 annas made a rupee. I remember, when I was just 10 years old, you would give him a whole page of numbers, rupees, annas, and pies, and he would go through it from top to bottom and put down the total. I've never understood how he did that. So those genes have come to me, and to be quite honest with you, if I had a choice, I would have been a mathematician. That is very natural to me. That's how the story began. Unfortunately, he died very young. He was very well known at this time. He was a bullion merchant. But we owe it to him, the genetics we owe to him. Then he urged us to study well, even at that age. So I went to Bombay Scottish School in Mumbai. After that, in Christian College, IIT Bombay. I wanted to become an engineer. Ideally, mathematics, but engineering is closer to mathematics. Topped the class in the final year. And I was very keen to go forward and study in the United States. As you probably know, when it comes to engineering, MIT is the Mecca for all engineers.
Yes.
You all aspire to go to MIT. You've been rated as the best engineering institutes for maybe over 50 years now. And I was fortunate to get admission to MIT. So I went there, but there was business in my blood. Therefore, I wanted to study business. That time, there was no MBA in India. The first MBA institute came with IIM Calcutta, with the collaboration of MIT, by the way, coincidentally. So then I went to MIT to study engineering and to my MBA at the same time. It has been an incredible period that I spent there. I was fortunate that I became an assistant to Professor Donald Carroll. Donald Carroll was into computers. Later, by the way, he became dean of the Wharton School, a very well-known man. And he took a liking to me for whatever reason. And I joined him at his laboratory, which was Project Mac. I must tell you, I knew nothing about computers that time. I'd never seen a computer. I'm not quite sure I wanted to go into the computer field. But I joined him, and it was a great 2 years that I spent at Mac. Mac was a laboratory funded by the US Department of Defense and IBM, which created the first multi-user computer. Mac stands for Multi-Access Computer, Mac. Before then, you could only have one person use a computer at one time. So this was the laboratory where they developed software that allowed multiple users of a computer simultaneously. So it was fun. That time, a computer would occupy a room twice the size of this room.
Which year was this?
1963 to 1965. So it was learning. But it was fun. And we were creating something which had never been done before. So it was intellectually very rewarding. So I enjoyed every minute of it. I was fortunate again at MIT to have the highest grades in the graduating class. They gave me the Ford Foundation Fellowship to do a PhD. I was not quite sure I wanted to do a PhD, but they say, no, you cannot say no. So you got to do a PhD. I said, fine. And I came back to India in my summer holidays after my MBA to spend the summer in India, as most graduates do. And I enjoyed my stay here. And fortunately, I met a girl that I fell in love with,
Asha.
who's now my wife, by the way, Asha. And I proposed to her, and she said yes. And those days, you couldn't get onto a plane at the drop of a hat. So I had 6 months to stay here because the Pandit said that there was no Mahurat to get married. And of course, the day I would spend the evenings with my then fiance, but I got bored very quickly. So I didn't know what to do. So I approached Mr. Choksi, head of HR of the Tata Group at that time. And I said, I'm here for a few months, and can I do something for you? And he looked at me, and he said, what would you like to do? I said, sir, you tell me. I'm at your service. So he said, go and see Mr. P.M. Agarwal. P.M. Agarwal was an engineer in charge of the Tata electric companies. That time there were 3 electric companies. They've joined into one now. He was a Roorkee, by the way, an engineer. So Mr. Agarwal looked at me and said, what can I do? I said, sir, I've been sent by Professor Choksi to meet you. You tell me, can I do anything for you? He said, yes, look around you and write down a few reports. So I joined the Tata Electric companies technically, and I wrote up 3 reports for them in that period. One of which was to start what is now TCS. So I wrote a project report for the Tata Group that we might want to get into computers, start this company at that time.
Which year was this?
This was somewhere between June and December 1965.
Nothing, Infosys, nothing was born.
No, nothing. There was no computer, there was nothing. And of course, I had my Ford Foundation Fellowship. So I barely got married, got on the plane with my wife, and went back to MIT. This is what happened. To my great surprise, Tata's had accepted that report in my absence. And Mr. Agarwal used to travel to the USA very often, being the head of the Tata Electric companies. He had a lot of business there. And he kept meeting me And he kept saying that you must come back to India. Like all Indians, we want to stay there for a few years anyway. So I said, son, I'll come back after a few years. But he kept insisting, no, come back. And then he played his trump card. He said, you come back and you can start and head this company. Now, that was very unusual. I was 26 years old.
From Tata Group.
No, Tata Group. Very, very unusual. So I talked to my wife and I talked to everybody. You can't say no to this. So after I got my degree, my PhD, I promptly got on the plane with my wife and came back to India. That's how TCS started. Being with that background, I remember I had some very, very bright people. I had 10 PhDs. I had 2 MIT graduates with me, and they came back. And that has really resulted in what TCS is today, in my opinion.
Wow.
Which had
You
these,
say the founder of TCS.
yeah, I founded it. I headed it. And it was fun. The Tatas were very open to ideas. All of the ideas were new. They were flabbergasted by I would hire 10 PhDs besides over 100 or 200 other people. But there's no looking back. I think TCS has done brilliantly well. And fortunately, all the successors, which has been Mr. Kohli, Ramadurai, Chandra, they've all carried forward brilliantly well. So I think I've had a reasonably good career. To be quite honest with you, I never expected that computers and IT would become this large in this period of time. But you can see what has happened to India. When you travel abroad today, and I say I'm from India, you say, IT. So India has become synonymous with information technology. And all of the world's largest IT companies, service companies, Google, Microsoft, or IBM, or now even SAP, are now headed by Indians.
Correct.
So it's an amazing journey. And I've seen India grow from nothing to where it is today, the 5th largest economy, will become number 3 shortly. And a lot of that credit goes to IT, in my opinion. But the perception of the world towards India has changed. And that change has transformed India from what it was to what it is. And I have no doubt that we'll become the number 3 economy in the world very soon. And a lot of that credit goes to IT. And maybe 1% of that goes to me.
Easy. I mean, it's, I don't think many knows about this, the founding of TCS story. I mean, it'd be quite interesting to speak more about it. Just one question I want to ask you. Weren't you tempted to stay in the US for a while, become a citizen, because you were MIT, Ford Fellowship, PhD? You could have very well become a US citizen and have been there. So coming back to India to head TCS or co-found or find TCS, it's not really, may not be the only tangible kind of, was there anything beyond this tangible outcome or a tangible reason for you to come back to India, like patriotism or, I mean, things. And I'm an attorney. I was in London. I was working with the FSA, the RBI for UK, and I quit my job to come back to India. So I'm really trying to find parallels. What is going through your mind? And we're newly married as well. So I think you're, I mean,
Yeah, you're right. But I came back probably for the same reason that you did.
Yeah.
See, I'm very Indian at heart. And I am very proud of our heritage.
Nice.
And when I do public speaking, which I do very often, I talk about our past and what we've been through for the last 700-800 years and how we can get back to where we should be. So I always wanted to come back. Even if I stayed in America, which I could have very easily, I could have got the best job that was available at that time. Not a problem.
And White Christmas.
But having headed the class, then MIT, and
Yeah.
I could have taken what I wanted. But I only want to come back, and then the Tata offer was, we could not say no to it. See, at the age of 26, if the largest group in India says, come back, start this company for us, head it. It's very difficult to say no
Yeah.
to that kind of an offer. I have no regrets. I now have stayed back in Tata's, except that you may not remember, but that time the ceiling on salaries was 5 lakhs of rupees by law. So nobody, even the chairman of Tata's, as an employee, could not draw more than 5 lakhs per year. And there was no way I could survive
Yeah.
at that kind of a salary. And there was business flowing in my blood. It's from a business family. That's why I decided to leave Tata's. But if the salary scene was not there, I would have remained there for many, many more years. But they are wonderful people to work for.
Yeah.
And I miss them. But I have no regrets. After all, your own company is your own company.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I had a good career. I have no regrets about it. It's been fun. And I'm sure India will do well, thanks to many others like me that are now doing well. And thanks to the economy that was liberated by Narasimha Rao. I must give credit for that. And the young entrepreneurs that are doing so well today, that I have no doubt that India will reclaim its glory, that is justly proud of.
Absolutely right. These are the most valuable companies in the world, India 500, one of the top 10 most valuable private enterprises in the country. I mean, great to sit to the founder anyway. Next question to you is, how long were you with TCS?
When I wrote the project report 65, technically I was on leave without pay, by the way.
Yeah.
Started Datamatics in 75. That intervening period.
Okay. The 10 years, around 10
Yeah.
years. Then was it easy for you to move and start a new business?
To be quite honest with you, it was not that easy. So those were the days when finance was not available. You had to have collateral. I mean, the computer company, there's no collateral to give. All you have is a bunch of computers in office and a few employees. So it was very tough. When I discovered what is given in the Tatas, you have money, you have an office, you have the reputation, you have the public relations, was absent when I started my company. So it's a tough beginning. But once it got going, then there was no looking back. He's done well. And I would repeat it. Probably I would have stayed back in Tata's for a couple of more years. But then the genetics in me said, no, I need to branch out on my own.
The founder of NVIDIA, Hanson, NVIDIA, the chip company, and he was asked a question during an interview saying that it's been 30 years since you founded the business and you've had so many experience. Now it's become one of the most valuable companies in the world, right? After this recent AI impact, right? And he was asked a question, if you go back 30 years and you're with your co-founders, and would you start a company? Would you do things differently? To which he responded saying, I would never start a company.
Oh, is that right?
Because he said, if I had known the kind of challenges that are there in front of me, if I had known in advance, I would never have started it. But you would, as an entrepreneur, you'd learn it as you go, right? And you try to tell your brain that, okay, this could be better, this could be better. So I just want to know your perspective. How do you think about it? I mean, entrepreneurs' life, people always see only the success part, but people say it's the tip of the iceberg. The whole hard work and everything is under the sea, right? So what do I want to hear from you?
Well, one thing I learned very quickly is that just being intelligent or clever, however called, is not enough for success. Success is based on a variety of factors. It is based on your cash availability. Without money, you can't do anything. It's based on your PR, public relations, your contacts. And that I learned very quickly in life. I remember when I was in Tata's, I wanted to see the chairman of a bank I would send in my card, and without an appointment, I would be promptly called to his room. After I left, if I would send my card, I would never get to see him. So I think public relations or networking, if you can call it, is a very important factor in success, particularly in India, where we depend on dynastics, whether it's politics, whether it's business. And it's hard to start. But once you start, then the going is good. But today we have no problem. We have established ourselves, we've got a reputation, our clients come to us. But for a new entrepreneur, it's difficult. And there was no venture capital at that time. There was no PE fund at that time. You see, so you have to be on your own. And that's a different ballgame altogether. So I think the world has changed for the good. And I think good for India was Indians, by and large, are fairly good businessmen. And I think given the opportunity, there are so many of us who can do brilliantly well, given the opportunity. See, and that opportunity is available in India today. So I really wish all our entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs, all success. It's the right time to be in India. The country is doing well. It is growing. It is very friendly to entrepreneurs. So I would encourage everybody to branch out on his own.
So you're saying, even if you're a peer, you would do the same thing in terms of starting your business, or you would not do things different?
I would. When I counsel potential entrepreneurs when they come to see me, I tell them, take a good job for 5 to 10 years. Okay, because India is different from particularly the West. Having learned the Indian way of doing things, which will take 5 to 10 years, then if you have it within you, the entrepreneurship, the will, the desire, the passion, by all means, do it, and I'm sure you'll succeed.
Okay, I get your message. Okay, now next question is, you founded Datamatics, right? And also, what are your sort of learning points after you founded the business? And how was your education abroad at MIT and PhD? How was all that helped in building a business? There's quite often a debate about there are entrepreneurs like Nikhil Kamath who's dropped out and who doesn't gotten a degree, but there are entrepreneurs like yourself who are educated. But what school of thought are you from?
Well, my family and I owe our success, and we are into many other businesses also, by the way. One of my cousins owns an airline in America, example. A nephew of mine has a fertilizer factory. So we've done well as a family, but we owe our success to education. 7 of my generation went to IIT Bombay, and they all did extremely well. 5 of the family are educated at MIT. This is very rare. When the president came here of MIT, and it was she, I told her that. She was surprised. So I don't know of any other family that's had 5 alumni from MIT. And today, there is no American well-known college that doesn't have a Kanodia there. My grandson just has gone to Stanford. So we named the institute, there's been a Kanodia. So I think we owe our success to education. So I would give a lot of emphasis to education. Not that you cannot do well without it. Dhirubhai Ambani is a good example, Adani is a good example, and there are many more. But education certainly helps in your success. And we as a family owe our success to education.
Correct. Throughout your life, you have seen so many events, right from wars to political situations like emergency to market opening up to COVID to inflation now. A whole bunch of events that you have seen throughout your life, right? What, if you have to name one event that was particularly, interesting, I would call it, it could be a challenge or opportunity, whatever. Forget the 92 opening up. You did mention about Mr. Narasimha Rao opening up was a great thing. But generally, if you look at all sort of events that has happened, one event that really got you back to drawing board, you were stuck. Oh, what do I do? Which one was that? If there's one like that.
No, you're right. Narasimha Rao gets a lot of credit.
Yeah.
You said it, to opening up the Indian economy.
Yeah.
It certainly made a difference. I personally think that we turned right as an economic philosophy. And that has made a big difference to India. And I think Modi has turned a little more right. And that is making a huge difference, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Giving support to MSMEs, for example. Our thinking also has changed. From a leftist kind of a thinking and the Russian model, you now turned a little more right of center and given opportunities to people who matter. Whether it's the banking system, whether the political system. So I think the entire philosophy has changed. And I sincerely hope that this continues. But if you again turn left, and that risk is always there, it's very popular to be leftist, particularly in India, then I think they get it. I sincerely hope that this is turning right of the center should continue. And I think if it do, this country will do brilliantly well, in my opinion. Brilliantly well.
Yeah. Okay, let's be specific. Any negative, like COVID was one negative, like that, throughout your entrepreneurship journey, was there, what would you rate as the most challenging kind of period? Because of a situation that is not in your control.
Well, I think the COVID is certainly one event that put the country back by a couple of years anyway.
Yeah.
But it also put us forward.
Very much.
Because we could supply that vaccine to the rest of the world.
Record number of unicorns too.
Amazing.
COVID.
Amazing. So there have been ups and downs in India. And that will continue, I think, because we are not a homogeneous country,
Yeah.
We are a country, we're the only country in the world. There's so many differences, whether it's religion, whether it's the standard of living, whether it's the education. On the one hand, we have the IITs and IIM. On the other hand, we have 20% illiterate. So we are a very strange country in a way. And I think the only country, I repeat, that is like that. There's no other country like that.
Absolutely right. And a democracy too.
And a democracy.
With all this.
and a democracy.
Yeah.
So I think what is setting us back is this seesawing. VP Singh had a seesaw again, if you notice, during those 2 years, went up and down. The corruption was at its height during the past Congress rule, with the coal scam and the 2G scam. Yeah. So it's been going up and down. But I think we're on a good path.
Yeah.
And the good thing is that we've been able to sustain, despite all the differences, despite the disparity, despite the non-homogeneity of the country, we've been able to sustain our passage forward. And I entirely endorse, all the economists say this, our Prime Minister says this, that we will become the number 3 country when it comes to GDP. I have no doubt about that. And once we get to that, then we're not looking back. Yeah. So I have no doubt that people like you and me will have a very bright future in this country. We deserve it.
Okay. I want to know how your role has changed, more from a founder's perspective. When you started a company, what were you focusing on? 10, 15 years later, when the company hit from 0 to 1, what was your role then? And from 1 to 100, what was the role then? And now what do you focus on? If I have to put in the 2-3 buckets.
See, I'm a combination of technology, having educated in IIT, and then my computer and MBA and business from MIT, and my experience with the Tata Group. So I put it all together to start a company from zero. When I started, it was me and my dog. And I remember that we had about 10 people in the first year or two.
Yeah.
So I was the peon, I was the finance officer, and I was the chief technical officer. That's tough.
I can totally understand.
It's tough.
How many years was it?
It just went on for 5-6 years. It was not easy. It's not easy. But then it got going.
Was your wife involved then when you started?
My wife is actually a psychologist. She also studied at MIT, by the way. She couldn't graduate because my son was born there and she had to give up her education. But she is not technical. And she is an artist at heart. So she was involved in the non-technical aspect of the company. Not done very strongly, a little bit. But then it got going and my role developed into guiding the staff that I continue to hire, both technically and in business. And today it's changed to now guiding my sons. I have 2 sons. We have 4 IT companies in the group, by the way, besides other companies. And they both independently look at 2 companies. And my son-in-law looks after a 3rd company. So we've distributed the work between them. And my job is really to guide them, to mentor them, to coach them, to advise them as to what they should do going forward. And I must say they've done very well. And I'm very proud of them. And I have no doubt that they will take it to much greater heights than I could. So I feel very satisfied having started from, I repeat, zero, literally zero, to where we are now at 15,000 employees. So it's been very satisfying.
And your time allocation now, where do you spend most of your time?
No, I'm semi-retired now. I do a lot of reading. And I do a lot of my time goes in mentoring as to what the next few steps should be.
Mentoring your family or others? Mentoring your family or your company?
Even my extended family, I would say.
Okay.
My extended family. And some entrepreneurs who wish to consult me, without naming people do come to me with advice. I'll be more than happy to give the advice. As you probably know, I'm also on the advisory board of Bombay University. There are 3 of us. Ratan Tata, Anil Kakorkar, who was chairman of Atomic Energy, and myself. So which is one step above the 650 boards.
Amazing.
Of the university. So I enjoy guiding young boys. Gives me great pleasure when they do well. When they're young people, they're the future of India. So it gives me great satisfaction if I can contribute even 1%, I repeat, to their success. But they're the future of India.
Amazing. That's amazing. So that's where your time goes. And what about philanthropy? Is that something which you're actively involved in terms of giving time, or how do you view philanthropy?
See, I think the thinking of the world has changed. In the very old days, I'm talking about 50, 100 years ago, the company belonged to the shareholder or the promoter. Today, it has changed. It also belongs to the employees. It belongs to the customer. It belongs to the supplier. And it belongs to the country. Right? So our thinking of the enterprise or the corporate world has changed, where Datamatics does not belong to me and my family, it belongs to the country at large. And the moment you start thinking like that, then philanthropy is an automatic. You've got to give away what you created. And I'm right now on that path, by the way, where my wife and I keep debating what we should give away, to whom we should give away. But there's very much happening. And I believe that it is our duty, our sacred duty, to, of course, provide for ourselves, no doubt, and the family, but also provide for others and the country at large.
Is there a math that you follow for philanthropy? Like X percentage of wealth or?
No, it's more emotional.
Okay.
Now, my wife and I believe that the greatest contribution we can make is in health and education. Those are 2 crying needs of society, even in India. So we are focusing on how we can give away some of what we have created to these 2 sectors.
And that's our primary cause.
Yeah, we are looking at opportunities where the money is well spent.
Got it.
For the benefit of the citizens of this country.
What do you think about the startup ecosystem in India in terms of all these things that you hear about valuations and because I was selling this to in an interview last day wherein I said there are four kinds of wealth creators in the country. The first is your traditional family business. Second is the tech startups, and I would even bracket the founders of Datamatics and Infosys and everybody in that bracket.
Sure.
You kind of started the tech foundation for India, right? So I think third is, of course, the professional managers, and last is the investment managers and so on. Those are the kind of wealth creators in the country. So I want to know about hear from you on terms of startup and what the ecosystem, what do you think, and what has to change, what is happening correctly. Would love to hear about it.
See, I'm a bit of a philosopher. Now, you see any business or any economic activity, it goes through ups and downs. Generally, it goes up, it plateaus, and then it comes down. Now, you see the most valuable company in the world today, which is Apple, Google, Microsoft, and you can name some more. They were all startups.
Correct.
They didn't exist more 50 years ago.
Correct.
Right. So the future of India and the future of the world for that matter depends on startup. See, when you have an established business, it's very difficult due to economic pressures to go into something new. So startups are the one that will contribute to the future of the world, in fact. So I would encourage them. In fact, this angel tax that they had in India was a very negative step. Even now, there's a lot of
It's still.
it's still there, partially. Some of it's taken away, some is there. Retrograde step. How do you value a startup? How could you value Bill Gates when he started Microsoft? 1975, by the way. The same day when I started Datamatics. How could you value it? So it depends on the investor. So I think what you encourage startups, and I can tell you 8 out of 10 will fail. And we don't have to look down on them. Okay, we should still pat them on the back. Just try again, get up, run. So I think the future of this country and the future of the world, I repeat, is in startups. Fresh ideas, like right now, artificial intelligence. Like, where to go, I don't know. But it's a startup. So people start up with an idea, some mushroom, some grow, some die. That's the way of the world. We in India, unfortunately, look down upon countries that fail. And we somehow think that the entrepreneur is at fault. He's not at fault. He's not at fault, I repeat. He has tried and they will fail. And you've got to say, doesn't matter. Get up, run again. So I think the future depends on people like that. And I sincerely hope that India understands that. And we encourage these young people, no matter whether they succeed or fail, do it. If you're passionate and you're persistent, it will succeed.
Are you an active investor in the ecosystem?
I am planning to get into that in a way like Ratan Tata is.
Yeah.
He has started doing this, by the way. I don't know if you know this.
Angel.
Angel investing. So we're looking at those kind of opportunities. And I hope that my sons will listen to me and we'll become angel investors in some startup.
Yeah.
Let's hope so.
Amazing. Where do you otherwise invest your money into? What do you like investing in? The stocks? What do you...
Well, see, you may be surprised that the wealth of the family has been given to my 2 daughter-in-laws, who are both MBA, very well educated, very bright girls, and they manage what we call the family office.
Correct.
So what they do, I don't ask them. So they invest in whatever but basically stocks, bonds.
What do you think about real estate as an asset class?
Real estate?
Yeah. Because that's one of the thing that really goes to both. I'm a bootstrap entrepreneur as well. So you always worry, there should be, in a place like Bombay, it doesn't make sense to invest money here because the yields are so low. So I would rather buy a commercial real estate than a residential. I don't know. What are your philosophies and thoughts around the same?
See, real estate has duality of perception. One is that there is shortage of housing, there's shortage of land. So therefore, obviously, something which is going to do well in the long run. The other perception is there's a lot of corruption around real estate.
Got it. Yeah.
See, so you don't want to put your hand into something which is as much below the table as above the table. So that's the problem of real estate.
Okay.
But there are enough opportunities in India.
Yeah.
There's no shortage. There's nothing wrong with real estate. In the long run, it will do well. And Bombay is doing particularly well right now. Half of the real estate boom is in Bombay, and half the rest of India.
Correct.
So Bombay is the
Hub. Yeah.
hub of real estate. But I think there's enough opportunity in India for. See, ultimately, though we are number 5 in the world with GDP, when it comes to per capita income, we are very, very low. And there's enough opportunity no matter what you do. And there's enough opportunity around you if you look around you. Not that all will succeed. I keep on saying that. You've got to be a risk taker. Some will succeed, some will fail. If the majority succeed, you're all right.
Great. So I think last couple of questions. What do you do during fun time? I mean, how do you relax? What are your hobbies?
Well, my wife and I love plants.
Nice.
So we have a 40-acre farm in Karjat, where we have 1,000 full-grown trees. Mango, so if you come, you're invited.
Yeah, thank you.
Mango, chikus, coconuts, you name it. We love it. We go and spend our weekends there. We are one with nature. So we enjoy Patna. I love music.
What's your favorite music director?
So I have a music collection, but we go and see like Sangeet Kala Kendra, many of the other forums that are with LCPA,
Yeah.
for that matter. Bombay is a lot of shows. So my wife and I both love music, and we go and see them. And we relax. We love company. So we have social get-togethers. We have one get-together tomorrow. We have another one day after.
Diwali series.
Diwali get-together. We spend our time. We enjoy each other's company. So I think we are grateful to God the Almighty.
Yeah.
A meaningful life. And I hope a peaceful life going forward.
Any advice to young entrepreneurs, especially in the young? Okay, let me put it this way: any advice to young college kids who think about a career, or what would be the advice? Because you've literally covered every big imagination of a college graduate, which is, okay, I've graduated. If I have to graduate, I have to graduate in IIT, or possibly go to higher studies in MIT, or take an MBA from Ivy League. You've done all that, and also start a company. So you've literally touched on all the spectrums of what a young Indian would want to happen, in their life. So what would your advice to the next generation be?
First thing I would tell them is do what you love doing. I don't think we should impose on the next generation. We underestimate them very often. Whatever they love, whatever it be, and they're passionate about it, I think they should pursue this opportunity. But I also believe in what Narayana Murthy recently said. They've got to put in a 70-hour week.
It's a big debate.
Well, you see, even if you're clever and you're good, if you work a little harder, I think you'll go a little further. It's not a necessity, but it certainly adds another dimension to your success. So if you're passionate, and if you read all the biographies and autobiographies, including Jack Welch or Lou Gerstner, they use the word passionate all the time. It's very frequently in the books. So you've got to be passionate about what you are doing. So if you're hardworking, and you're passionate, and you're capable, you can't be stopped. It's very simple. So pursue what you love to do, but keep at it. Don't give up easily. Do it.
on that note, thank you very much. It's been a truly an inspiring interview for me as well. For me, the best part is to learn from respected individuals such as yourself in terms of your story, and I take it back. And I'm sure if at least 10% of this gets conveyed to the people who listen to it properly, right? I mean, that'd be the biggest success. Once again, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for coming all the way.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.